MMAfighting.com. We were here with Roman Salazar, who has stepped in to save the day for Bellator Dublin, who's going to take on James Gallagher on just a week's notice. How long did it take you to accept this fight, Roman?
Literally, I accepted it before the challenge had actually come. It's so funny. I mean, once I heard it was coming from my actually ex-manager that told me that he had contacted Bellator about this, I told him, yes, of course, man. Who would turn down an opportunity like this, especially whenever you've been around the business so long like I have, man. We were just talking about it. I had my first MMA fight whenever I was 18 years old, much like James did. And here we are all these years later, man. It's 13 years ago. I mean, all the ups and the downs that I've been through in this career, you know, like MMA takes a lot and it gives a lot, and it's just so funny. It gave a lot last week.
It's weird, right? Because when I heard about this, I looked up your record, as everyone did straight away, and we're like, wow, this is a really substantial opponent. But whatever it is about James, whatever headline you put out about James, people eventually just start criticizing and saying, you know, this guy's a can and stuff like that. And I'm like, this guy has twice the experience of Gallagher. He's fought on the world's biggest stage. He's fought a legend in Kid Yamamoto. I mean, is that crazy for you to say people think that this is a can at this stage?
You know, again, I think that's the American way of thinking. It really is. You're only as good as your last fight. I happened to lose a very narrow split decision my last fight against Mario Israel. I mean, I think if people adopted the ideology that Japanese mentality takes, those fighters, I mean, they don't care what your record is. If you show up and you got that samurai mentality to fight at all times, and you show up to fight, they're going to love you. But, again, the good old USA is all about the best at the moment, right? When you're on top, they love you. Whenever you fall once, they hate you. I mean, it's just the way it is back there, man. But, yeah, no, I would definitely not consider myself a can. I'm sure that James doesn't consider me a can either.
James said he said this was the toughest, most difficult task that was made available to him. He had spoke with great respect for you for stepping up on short notice just moments ago. But I'd actually go the opposite way. I think you're one of the most difficult opponents he's ever faced, you know?
I definitely say so. I mean, I sat down and I watched James fights. I mean, I've been watching James fight for a while now. I'm actually a bit of a fan. I think the kid has a bright future, and like just watching it, I was like, this would be somebody that would be cool to fight someday, you know. And now fighting him on his turf, on his soil here, I mean, what a better dream, right? I mean, if you're ever going to be a spoiler, this is what we get into this business for, man. It's for moments like this.
It's funny because most of the guys that would take on James seem to be driven by the fact that he kind of rubs people up the wrong way, but you seem to not really have that going into this. Is he someone that's bothered you and you've been watching from a distance, or do you kind of, you know, you're indifferent to him?
No, not at all, man. I think what he does is great. He builds the hype. He does a good job. He has a great following. He's a young kid at 22 years old, and, I mean, he has a whole country behind him. He's done everything right. But like I said, man, it's just the banter doesn't get to me at all. I mean, maybe whenever I was younger and a little bit more punk of a kid, I used to get a little upset by stuff like that, but man, I'm a dad now. I tell my kids to turn the other cheek all the time, so it's one of those things. It's just business. We're going to fight no matter what happens. Weigh-in day, he pushes me. He doesn't shake my hand. Whatever happens, we end up fighting, and we respect each other as martial artists whenever it's all done.
You know, like as you said, you're a vastly experienced competitor. I'm sure you have shown up on enemy turf before, and you know, you have experience there. Are you going to kind of channel that ahead of this, because the Dublin crowd tends to be a bit raucous on occasions like this?
Absolutely, man. We were just talking about it. We were actually there. Teammate Frankie Saenz got to fight Uri Faber on the Aldo McGregor card, and to me, whenever I seen that fan base, and I was like, man, this is in Vegas, and I've never seen such a loyal fan base in my life. So the fact that I get a fight, I know what I'm walking into here, and I love it. I just love that you guys support your fighters that much, and man, maybe I wish I was an Irish fighter. We could make it happen, that we get that whole crowd behind us, right? But yeah, no, it's just a amazing feeling, and it's gonna be cool, man. Hostile territory or not, energy's all energy, whether it's bad or good. We gotta harness it, and we gotta fight and get the show done anyway.
Where do you feel like you have the biggest advantage over James when you think about this contest? I know you haven't had that long to think about it, but I mean, from what you've seen, what do you think?
Well, obviously, you know, you got you would think it's striker versus grappler, but I mean, my background is wrestling, All-American wrestling as well, and James tends to get most of his takedowns off of jiu-jitsu, takedowns and body locks, things like that. So I would say I definitely have the wrestling advantage, and I would say I have the experience and the power advantage as well, where James, you know, has the speed and youth for him. So it's just one of those things, yeah. So the advantage definitely going to be in the strength department and the know-how and just ring savviness for sure.
Thanks so much for talking to me, Roman.
You got it, man. Thank you so much.